Call this meeting to order at 7:03 p.m. This is a regular meeting of the governing body. Mayor Neckman. Good. This is a regular meeting of the governing body of the Borough of Bloomingdale, Tuesday, August 20th, 2013. If everyone will please rise to salute our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Mayor Dunleavy.
Here.
Councilmembers D'Amato.
Here.
Short. Here. Conklin. Della Ripa.
Here.
Sandemeyer.
Here.
Yasti.
Here. Also with us, our municipal clerk, Jane McCarthy, and from Dorsey Semrau firm, our borough attorney, Tracy. Tracy. It's an official meeting of the governing body of the Borough of Bloomingdale on January 2nd, 2013. Public notification, date, time, and place was faxed and mailed to all open news media and posted in the municipal building. As per state fire code, I am required to acknowledge there are two exits in this chambers. The main entrance, which you walk through, and exit to my left. If an emergency was to arise, walk orderly down the stairs and out of the building. If anyone has question on that, raise your hand now. There's no need for an early executive session. We do have a few non-agenda items. Jane, if you would.
Mr. Mayor, I did include it in this agenda. I redid the agenda. There was one
Oh, sorry.
text resolution that G.
Okay.
It's about four. That's all I have.
Right, corrective action. Okay. So there'll be no added non-agenda. They are on the agenda that everyone's copied on. I need a motion to open early public comment. So moved. Second. All in favor? Aye. Anyone wishing to speak to an agenda item, please come on up, take your name and address for the record.
Definitely, 86 Van Dam Avenue, Bloomingdale. A couple of things which I noticed on the website is that the 2009, 10, 12, and 13 adopted budgets are not up there.
Is this an agenda item?
That's not.
Is everyone okay with speaking to a non-agenda item at this time? Just want to make sure.
Aye.
Okay, there, just a nod? Okay, I'm sorry. Is everyone proceed? Yeah.
I just want to let you know that they're not up there, and that's supposed to, that's a requirement by the,
I know 13.
the adopted, no, not the adopted budgets.
No. Did not be adopted.
No,
Because I know former CFO.
just the proposed budgets. Yeah,
Okay.
introduced,
You
not
just
the
just
adopted.
not adopted.
Okay.
And then as an agenda item, it's on the bills list. For the Rose Fund, I noticed that there was $41,578 taken out for payroll account, and I was just wondering what work was done for that $41,000 for charge the Rose Fund.
I believe that is offset of DPW salaries for the maintenance they do to our rec facilities.
So you're just taking a lump sum, you're not determining exactly what work was done, so you know that you're not charging monies to the Rose Fund appropriately?
Well, I believe finance is taking portions of the salaries of those who work there, whether it be projects or normal maintenance. So, I mean, it is justified by the work that's performed. The ultimate number was prepared in last year's budget and this year's. What is that? What is the number that was moved? $82,000 total goes to the Rose Fund as it did since when? Last year.
But that is just purely an assumption, that's not an actual amount of...
Well, it would be based on, you know, if one employee whose work is all rec-related, his salary is, you know, I'm just using round numbers, $58,000, and that salary is coming from there and any other work.
So you have justification for that, you can show exactly what employee's
I
salary...
would rely on finance to be able to produce how it's being justified, certainly.
Okay, when that trust, the dog trust account, you also have payroll being charged to that? Normally payroll doesn't go to the trust account?
Again, I'd have to defer to finance. I would imagine that would be also offset by ACO charges or shelter operation. I'm not sure.
Okay, no, I would request that somebody find out to make sure that whatever finance is doing is proper. because you're not just, you can't just charge.
Well,
Into an account because-
sure, it's the same thing, I mean, that was done last year, we were audited, it wasn't an effective action plan, so I'm sure it's proper, because we didn't have a proper audit.
Was that, but I recall last year there was an issue as far as the water and sewer department charging money to water and sewer for the administrative salaries. That was not based upon any solid application of their amount of work being performed. Now, if that was being done for the water and sewer, I'm sure that's going to be eventually for the Rose Fund and for the dual trust account. You can't just charge something to a trust account or to a...
If it's related to offset that department, and I know it's been done that way before my time, you know, much before all of our time. I mean, the utilities are offset administrative costs because the finance, our treasurer does all the bookkeeping, payroll, et cetera, for utility.
There was never any justification for it. It was just a figure thrown
Well,
out.
that's in your opinion, there's no justification.
That's what I am told by finance.
By finance?
Yes, I was told that by finance.
By our finance department?
Yes.
I'll clarify that tomorrow.
Okay. On page 1 of the bills list, excuse me, there's an Oakwood Park refund for the grants receivable. Now, I'm assuming that this $27,000 you're charging to that, to the capital account, and you are going to get a grants receivable, you're going to be taking it out of the capital account?
Right. Well, we would have received a grant from the county, and work was done. Finance submits the bills for reimbursement.
So there, you say that this, the grant, on the bills list, you're saying is a reimbursement?
Yes.
On the grant, on the bills list, it's a
But
reimbursement?
it's in paying an account, though. It's the Borough of Bloomingdale paying an account. I don't have it in front of me. Does it say Borough of Bloomingdale?
Oakwood Park refund.
Right, it says
Bloomingdale current fund AC 584.
right. So the borough's current fund is paying back capital. So it's still going to be on bills list because it's
Okay.
expenditure.
Now, I understand that we're getting all this equipment to be able to do all these water leaks in town. And here we have a bill for $12,817 for a water leak on Rafkin Road.
Correct.
Prior to the
What's that?
That was prior to,
That was prior to
we did last month.
getting the equipment.
Now, we have also mechanics that are supposed to be doing our truck repair. If we have also on page 1, the last item, for Deluxe International Trucks Inc., we're paying $4,677.
What kind of work?
Repairs to trucks.
Do you know what kind of repairs?
Doesn't tell me. This is repairs truck 5, 6, 5, 5.
Again, that would be a repair that our mechanics are unable to do. Our mechanics do not do transmissions. I believe that was a transmission repair.
I think that should probably be more clearly explained. On page 3, take a tree down at Sloan Park. Where was the tree? I mean, Sloan Park is...
There was a dead tree at Sloan Park that was across from the condos, closer to the entry. Yeah, excuse me, entry. There was a 3-pronged tree that was shot. So it was removed.
$1,400.
It was quite a large tree.
This one I have a concern with the pins. I know you're changing the logo and all that, and we paid Ted's, or our former borough administrator's acquaintance, $1,000 for our last logo, and now we should go back to the new logo.
Well, no, the pins, the old pin was not, that was the old logo, that was the old, what looked like a dreidel in my opinion. That was not designed by anybody recently, that was
This
designed.
one was here. The one that's the original one, isn't it?
No, the original one is hanging in the hall, and it's like a dreidel, past, present, future,
Okay.
whatever that says.
Okay.
That was the old pin, we had about 20 left, so Terry was ordering new pins, and I asked if she would order that instead of the old.
Okay.
You're talking about the one that has the fried egg in the sky, you know? I call it a fried egg. It's not our DPW trucks.
Yeah, that's what we paid $1,000 to Ted's acquaintance.
Boy, who would have voted on that?
Not me.
We
Before
vote on
us,
that?
too. This is before us.
Oh, this was? Oh, I didn't know that.
On page 6, there's the Home Depot accreditation. I think it's supposed to be accreditation.
It would have been items needed for the police accreditation. They have to do a camera system. If they're testing someone in a DUI, they have to do cameras in that room, an alarm to alert any officer. If it's one officer and the person being arrested. I just talked to the chief about that today. There's a lot of accreditation items that our DPW is doing and doing installation. So again, I'm not sure if that was a special block or an alarm or,
On page 7, there's a number of animal control, or animal control or animal shelter expenses that are coming out of the trust fund. And I just wanted to make sure that it is a trust fund item, and it's not an animal shelter expense.
again, I can't speak to them having that.
You mean the ones that are listed like vet service for Georgia?
Correct.
I assume vet service would be an animal service.
If the first week is part of the ACO, the second week, after the 7th day, then it's part of the animal shelter expenses.
Right, but the borough now runs the shelter,
Right.
so we operate the shelter. It's not a separate entity.
I understand, but the trust fund is not supposed to be used for the animal shelter.
Don't have anything in front of me.
This next one, I don't know what this is for. It's for page 8, Tilcon, for $305,000.
That would be for paving, through the code.
So we paid Tilcon for paving, I don't think.
Tilcon is the contractor who bids via the Morris County Co-op.
Okay,
Even though Mike Fitzpatrick is Tilcon's paver, we get the bill from Tilcon.
okay. so
Tilcon
this is
pays Fitzpatrick. That's for various, that's for Knowles, Jeffries, Malaysia Place, whatever was done. And there's more to be done.
Okay, then also the stone from Morse Lakes. Morse Lakes Road.
Not for Morse Lakes, Morse Lakes Road. There was stone put along Morse Lakes Road, which is a town road. That was also part of the paving. And as a result, the road was raised anywhere from 4 to 6 inches above earth. So they put in riprap, stop any drainage issues or failure of the road. Morse Lakes Road is a town road.
Okay, so this is an additional expense related to that, I guess when you redid those roads for Morse Lakes? Morse Lakes Road?
No, as I stated, Morse Lakes Road is a
Right.
town road.
But this was done last year, this is additional expense, correct?
It was done in October, November of last year, so the stone was put in recently because of problems that we were having with the roads crumbling and failing on the edge. It's nothing to do with the private roads that were done through the co-op that the Lake Association's retained. So,
Okay, I guess also our repair guys cannot do the fire truck repairs? What you want to do?
don't know what was repaired. What's the amount, what does it say?
$71.75 equipment maintenance, repair the fire truck.
Could be radios, could be, I have no
It
idea.
could be the ladder, it could be certain things that our DPW cannot do. I know they're doing our oil changes now, they're doing the basic that they're capable of doing. When it comes to emergency service, you have to be certified in certain areas of the truck. If it's a ladder that needs to be worked on, it has to go back to Pierce, it has to go back to the manufacturer. So
Who was the vendor?
Stewart and Stevenson Repair.
No, that doesn't ring a bell to me, but there's, I don't know what truck it was, but there was power issues with the truck, which our DPW cannot, that's all computer stuff, they can't do that.
Okay, then there was another expense for animal shelter, or, so I don't know what it is, but just that it should be charged appropriately.
You're assuming it wasn't.
I don't know if it was or not.
But it's on our bills list.
I'm bringing it up just to bring it up and let you be aware of it. Very good. Bergen restrooms, I don't know what that was for. The refund for Bergen restrooms on page 9,
Walter, who's the vendor?
over Bloomingdale. I don't know who got the money back from, refund check,
How much?
500?
Walter Ski Bergen Restrooms is the county
Oh,
grant.
Bergen restrooms, yeah.
It's a county grant that we're going up to bid very soon on. Sounds like the borough's paying back capital on that. Must have, probably had to bill out the architect. The reimbursement capital on. That was a grant line as well.
Okay, page 11, the Tropicana Casino and Resort. If I recall, I believe Mr. Gassi has specifically stated that if he goes to Atlantic City, he's paying for his room himself. So I'm just curious as to why this charge is on here.
Well, I'm not going to speak for Councilman Yazdi, but I'll state that if Councilman Yazdi or anyone wishes to reimburse the borough, how it's been done in the past, that's their prerogative. Personally, when, in 2010, when I made an issue of the borough paying for council people to go, was when we had zero surplus, deficit, paying an attorney $150,000, an auditor $20,000 more. Crying poverty was a different story.
Also, now we have money to throw away.
Not throwing away. These are
You're saying
educational.
we have all this excess money, so
I did not say that. These
you're
are,
saying it's okay.
there's valuable information that anybody who attends, and Councilwoman Shortman can attest to that, you could bring back from these conventions, okay? What I'm saying is, the time I made issue of it, and I haven't decided whether I'm reimbursing the borough or not yet, and every council person can speak for themselves. When I made issue of it, you had a council at the time crying poverty, but at the same time paying all those excess professional fees,
We're
and at
not
the same
excess
time,
professional fees. That's a matter of opinion, I disagree with you 100%. You may continue.
I'm done.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, since certain people stated that they would never take money from the borough to go to stay at a hotel, I question why this is on here.
Just for the record, I've never stated that.
Oh, yes, you did.
I've never stated that.
No, I
But
guess.
thank you.
What else do you have?
Okay. On page 15, on that animal emergency, there was another charge that came out of the trust fund, which I question whether it should be the trust fund or not.
I would suggest, and it's entirely up to you, being that the bills list is now online for transparency, that you would have every opportunity to get the answers to your question from finance department before coming to the council, because we may not have, as you can see, the supporting documentation in front of us. I'm just
I understand that, and
the process that may answer all of your questions.
but then I guess I also wonder that I would think that you would know what these are for. but
It's a what is it, a $2 million bills list? I don't know every item on there. You know, I mean, it's detail on every item. I attest to the fact that they are properly charged, properly authorized by finance, and on the list to be paid.
Well, finance doesn't authorize payment, it's done by the
What I'm
council.
saying is, if you have specific questions, you should ask them prior to the meeting.
Well, I have questions, but other people may also have questions, and maybe this will answer some of your questions. The cooperative communication, we have telephone charges for July 2013, that's on page 17. I thought we used either Verizon or some other communication, I mean, you may have changed, but I don't know.
Is that a hardware bill? Is it a usage bill
Telephone charges,
for cooperative?
communication.
Don't know if that, we do use Optima. That could be police band, I'm not sure. Don't have the supporting documentation with me.
Then, that's Atlantic Engineering, samples at DPW.
That's the well monitoring that was ignored for years, which is finally being resolved.
Well, I don't think it was ignored for years. I don't
It was ignored for
became
years.
aware of
It
it.
was ignored for years.
I don't think anyone became aware of it until after we did the building.
It was ignored for years.
I guess it started when we were on
It
the
goes back to 1996, prior to all of us.
We're still paying for the John Wiggly for the, I guess he has the,
He has a sewer water license.
so our people still, the DPW superintendent and the water
John Wayne has
superintendent.
nothing to do with DPW, but to get to the question you're trying to ask is correct. We're still paying for licenses for both departments.
So neither one of them have passed the test yet.
Correct.
The flashing of the alcohol for improvements to the municipal complex on page 20, is that for the roof?
Repeat it, please.
It says flashing/alcohol improvements to the municipal
Who's
complex.
the vendor?
ABC Supply Company?
Flashing? No, the roof repair was under warranty. We didn't spend any money on it. Flashing, trying to think.
Slash alcove.
What's the price on it?
614.
Because we didn't, all the work that was done on the roof was warranted by fire estate. There was no other flashing work that I can think of.
Firehouse.
Other than vents were installed by the generator that were aluminum.
It's on the bottom.
That was all.
That's different.
Yeah, the firehouse was not a warranty. The warranty, the borough didn't buy a warranty on that. Don't know.
A couple of items down, there's an insurance deductible, repair is $680. $4,134.78, just seems very weird insurance deductible.
Again, I don't know the detail what truck, what accident, what it's related to. Possibly we had no coverage on it. No supporting documentation. What was the vendor?
Peyton's Oil Body,
No, that wasn't, that was the, I believe, but again, I'm going without supporting documentation. We had a leaking garbage truck that had to be re-sheathed inside to stop the leaking that was occurring on our streets as it was taking garbage. So that wouldn't be insured, a covered claim anyway. Sounds like we paid the whole repair on that. The only truck I know, and then we had a transmission issue, but that seems to be a body shop repair, which I think is that situation.
okay. These may all be just, what's up here, Babs thermostat, is that to fix
Excuse me?
the Babs thermostat?
That was for the police department.
Okay. And the senior citizen analysis at the senior center,
What about that?
is that just to make sure that everything is okay?
Well, who's the vendor?
Kessler.
Yeah, unanimously, the governing body authorized Kessler, a geotechnical engineer, to do borings and studies on why the senior center is settled.
New purification system, $18,150.
That is the air purification which is required for DPW. It was never done when the building was done new.
There's a couple things for paint.
Okay, sorry.
On page 29, this is the last one, there's, I guess, paint for basketball court, and then there's other paint. This is for the road, the other paint, I guess, that's for the roads that were being done all over town. That's over the, I guess, the Sherwin-Williams Company.
Correct.
That's
The-
that paint?
Correct. The town purchased a liner, so we don't have to do it by 2x4 and roller anymore, and paint to go along with it.
Okay, and the other one for the basketball court. Which court is that? The one on,
That would be Bloomingdale and Bow Pond of both.
I also have a question that deals with the Rose Fund, that you had stated to me when I had wanted to offset DPW salaries to the Rose Fund, the work that they do for recreation, that should never be done because they work for the town and that's part of the job for the town, and it should not be a road fund expense.
I still believe that. I don't vote. The governing body voted 6-0 the introduction of the budget, same as they did last year.
Well, let me
It was a
help you.
recommendation, it was a recommendation by the auditor to shift it. Peter Lurch made the recommendation to shift payroll related to recreation to the roads fund. Council both passed and current, move forward to it. Would I love to see that stay in current, leave more money in the roads fund to spend on projects and maintenance? Certainly. But that's not how we're operating right now. I'm sorry, Councilman.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, we went through this reassessment, and as a result of the reassessment and that rate not changing, we ended up with $82,000 more in the roads fund. So rather than taxing the residents that $82,000, we decided to take it out of the roads fund and keep the taxes there. So it just makes sense.
I don't think it was, we decided not to tax residents. I think what the comment was made was when we were doing the budget, that since the previous year you were taking money out of the budget, put it to the roads fund, that if you took the money, put it back into the budget, it was going to hurt your budget. That's why you didn't do that. Because if you would have taken that $80,000 that you took out of the previous year's budget, and if you put it back into the subsequent year's budget, that would have been an additional $80,000 that you had to account for. And you decided not to do that because
Again, it would mean that we would have to tax the residents if we put it back into the budget.
To the current operating.
But you also did it because you were going to be more under, you would be over the cap.
Why was it done in 2000?
That's right. But it all comes down to what we all
No, but you're speaking of it, you're speaking to 2013. So let me ask you, are you against the idea of taking $82,000 from current operating DPW and shifting to the roads? Are you against that idea?
I think that was an idea that I had years ago, so I thought it was a good idea to do that if they're doing the work.
So you support the idea?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you.
Well, my question is, because you were so adamant about it, I was just curious as to why you felt that it was okay to do that now.
But I didn't voice an opinion on it either way since it's occurred.
Strange opinion, John.
Well, I have one opinion, but I won't share it.
Well, the reality is we were $575,000 over cap as a result of the disaster we were ended in 2011. When you were in place.
Yes, as far as your budget, this year you had $239,000 showing as a reimbursement from FEMA, which you were not permitted to do because you did not receive the cash, which was always the case. That was not something different this year. But then when you took that money out of the budget, all of a sudden you have these construction fees come into the budget. What I want to know is if these construction fees were coming into the budget after you had taken, you needed more money, why weren't they in there in the first place? All of a sudden you had these,
We still do. We
$150,000
have
in
400,000
You had
still
additional-
remaining
you
in
had-
in building permits. Here's why. You could do two things. You could do an emergency appropriation and fully fund it, okay? And this year, we were able to, our auditor, because he's done it in every other town and CFO, they allow you to anticipate the FEMA money. And then when we sent our budget, introduced budget to DCA, they declined it. They said no. And it contradicts their own opinion. I can show you 3 other towns that they approved it on. So what we did was shift construction fee money into that shortfall because we lost that FEMA money. Well, we couldn't anticipate the budget. But when we do, we will end up with $240,000 in surplus this year, and we still have $400,000 in construction fees from that long day that we haven't even touched yet.
But you put an additional amount of construction fees into the budget to offset the reduction of FEMA fees. If these additional construction fees were going to be received this year anyway, why weren't they in the budget initially?
Because we're building surplus by not touching that revenue. Just like we haven't touched we have $1 million in utility revenue. We have $400,000 in construction costs. We're not going to go to $0 and have zero. That's what the council's done in the past.
But
And you have zero.
But instead you'd rather overly tax the residents.
How we? I have no comment.
This was the lowest tax rate, tax increase.
Because of
Yeah,
that
that's
comment,
it.
because of
We haven't
Avalon Bay.
touched Avalon Bay yet, it's not because of Avalon Bay.
Oh, please, you just said about the construction fees and the bus board.
We have
Avalon Bay
surplus in
certainly
there
did help.
before.
What do you mean it has nothing to do with Avalon Bay?
Hey, Avalon Bay absolutely
Pays
helps.
for horses. I don't like to spoken to in that manner, please.
You did say,
No, I was finishing something in the mayor, not you.
they hate sports.
Hey,
I don't like
yes,
people.
you're right. But to your point, here's what you don't want to do. Have gyrations of one-time money going into your budget, right? And then next year coming in and tax the residents double or triple that amount. The way budgeting would work and you stabilize taxes is you put it a little bit as much as needed to keep the taxes stable, right? And that's what we've done this year, the lowest tax increase in 10 years. I get that you have your opinion, you probably would have wanted to see some gyrations
No,
going
I'm not
on.
asking for some direction, but
But we decided against that, and it's the lowest tax increase, and hopefully next year we can bring in another lowest tax increase once again.
well, because you have Avalon Bay, there would not have been any gyrations in the budget.
And which, by the way, Ms. Huntley,
You just.
3 years ago, you had the option to bring in Avalon Bay, but you decided to fight them and not to settle with them. We come in, we settle with them, and all good things start to happen. Now you're questioning, how are we using that money? You had all these options.
That is
You
not.
decided to ignore it, you decided to walk away from it. You can't be questioning how we are stabilizing taxes.
I can question whenever I feel like questioning.
So you can question it.
And also, as far as me deciding not to use Avalon Bay, there was no decision whether we wanted to or not. We had to. We were under a court order to have that housing built. The only discussions that we had was what was other funds that we were going to be getting from them. And if you recall, that was signed beginning of January, after negotiations throughout the entire time when I was on the council.
No, you weren't on the council, man.
So
We
do
came
not-
in
do
and we
not-
settled
I'm
that.
still talking. I'm not interrupting you. I
Well,
do
what
not.
you're saying, you're misinforming everyone. You're just making up anything you want
I'm not.
to get a point across, and you're wrong.
Ms. Huntley, to your point, in 2011, when you had the opportunity in front of you, did you or did you not settle the litigation over those utility fees with Avalon Bay?
We were in the
Yes or
process
no?
of doing that.
No, you were not. No, you're not. You actually voted no to do just that.
We voted to have the negotiation go through, which the attorney at that time did, and it wasn't settled until the beginning of January.
You're absolutely incorrect on that statement, but
No,
again,
I'm not,
we can
because I have
agree.
the attorney's letter from the
Yours.
council.
We can agree to disagree. Anything else?
That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak to an agenda item? Please come on up, state your name and address for the record.
Jack Miller, Greenback.
Hello, Jack.
Good evening. There's an update here on Sloan Park. Is that,
Well, that was pretty much what I put in my email. I was going to
Okay.
put on the public record.
all right, I have a question on that.
Sure.
In January, February, we had a flood committee meeting. We were supposed to apply for permits then.
And we did.
Okay. My question is, have we missed deadlines for any permits for the DEP on any of these projects? The reason I'm asking is because now we're getting pushed out 90 more days.
No, and I'll sum it up this way. 100% of the delays are related to the DEP. 100%. It took our engineer 4 months to get the meeting I went to on the first one. 4 months to get in front of them over this hydrological study, which we provided. So, it's
So we
entirely-
we haven't missed any deadlines for any of these permits that we have to put in there. Is there any
There's no
way?
deadlines, it's them reviewing our application, coming back to us with what's needed.
Right, but wouldn't it be safe to say that once they give you a permit, they're gonna tell you, because we can't go in there with a trailer in there, they give you all these stipulations probably of when we can do the work.
We're up to 15 general permits on this project.
Okay.
So it wasn't just getting one permit and we're ready to rock and roll.
No, I understand, but and to your email that you sent, I get that, but I'm just looking, as the chairman, is there anything that I can see that there's deadlines of this permit or we can use it by this time, there's nothing like
Because
that.
we just keep giving them what they keep coming back and asking for. So now, they said they were confident within 90 days, they'll give the final blessing. Okay? And because that puts us into the can't do anything because of trout, September to March, it's huge. We, last week, submitted a waiver. We can get a waiver from that provision to do non-river activities, such as start moving the interconnects that are in the park, we're not in the water. Some of the top gaming walls that are not in the water. They stated that this week, and I'm not holding my breath, maybe next week, we'll have an answer on that if we get that waiver. So best case, we start in November. Worst case, we're not starting until April. Is there anything more we can do? We're at their beck and call. They say 90 days, they'll get back to us. That 91st day, they can come back and want more.
Right, that's a question I have. If we were applying in January or February, 90 days would have took us till, whatever, June, whatever,
And that's
whatever
when
it
they
is.
came back for hydrological.
And then they came back for more. See, that's what I don't know that stuff. Is there any way I can find that stuff out?
I didn't know that until I went last week of that project. That was,
Would it be safe for me to call the engineer to see if there's something?
you absolutely can. He's going to tell you nothing different than what I'm doing.
Okay, I'm just,
Yeah, I'll believe, I feel it.
I'm not good
I
saying,
live it.
4 years, whatever it's been.
We've had funding in place for 2 years, 3 years. Actually, it'd be 3
You're
years.
probably tired of seeing it.
3 years in October. No, I want it done. You're not the only resident I hear from on the issue. It is extremely frustrating, and I'll be as polite as I can because we're on the public record. I was amazed how, to me, it was all about flooding, the impact to our residents on the side streets, the impact to our businesses on Main Street, and it just didn't seem to matter. All that mattered was regulation of what's in the park.
How come it mattered downstream?
Well, no one downstream has done such a project.
They've got funding and grants and stuff to do what they needed to do.
Show me another town who's...
Palm Lakes,
Other
they
than
do all that.
desilting and de-snagging,
Yeah, but I mean, look, they,
no other town has built riverbank walls and removed parks and islands.
what
in the
do
river.
they call what they did down by the milk barn and all that stuff? What is that? Just snagging and sealing? I don't think so.
Yeah, I can't answer that.
Yeah, I
don't know.
was-
They caught them on a good day. I mean,
Machines in there, making banks. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It seems okay down there, but now that we're trying to do something, and that's back to my question. Did we miss deadlines?
Is behind, the answer to your question is unequivocally no. Is that behind the milk barn a C1 waterway? I don't think so. Yeah, I think that's your biggest distinguisher.
Well, it comes out of the reservoir.
But it's not a class 1 waterway.
Okay.
On a river.
I don't know.
Drought producing. I think that's the hydrological engineer that our engineer brought in on this to do this study because they wanted to make sure that us cutting the leaving the culvert into the island, raising the riverbank does not affect anything downstream. He's got 25 years experience in hydrological study. He said this is the most complicated application he's ever done. So, like my email said, to us it's build a bridge, fix a park, increase your height of your banks. To us, it's that simple, right?
To be more in a public forum, I think it stinks. But I got more for it than that.
We all agree with you. It's incredibly painful, the process.
Should have done a long time ago. I just,
Jack, next time I go to DEP,
I'm glad.
I would like you to come to experience what I experienced.
but you had fun. Thanks.
But seriously, I would like you to come so we
Let me know when it
can
is.
get an understanding.
How long? Probably all day.
Exactly. Hopefully we don't have to go back.
Let me know.
Hopefully we get a final general permit in 90 days, we get a waiver in the next 10 days, and we can start going to bid on this. That's, my email, I think something will happen.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm just, believe me, I'm digging. I'm looking.
Jack, I'm with you.
All right. I just want to make sure we don't mess anything up on this end.
There's nothing more we can do. We've done everything we've been asked to do. That's why I prefaced our conversation by saying 100% of the delay is on them.
Okay.
Anyone else? Seeing no one, motion to close. So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Professional reports, department heads, committees, liaisons. Tracy, you have any reports? Okay. Jane, do you have any reports? All right. Anyone else today? Yes.
For the last several months, the Environmental Commission at their meetings have been addressing our downtown and what we can do to enhance our downtown with plantings, trees, whatever. And they will meet again on September 4th on that issue. And, you know, I agree with them. I think that, I know we're part of a Chamber of Commerce, but it seems our Chamber of Commerce is Butler and Kinnelon and us. And I just have this feeling that through the discussion from the Environmental Commission, I know other towns have different committees, awards. I think Compton had a Golden Broom Award. Just maybe we need a committee to explore what we can do with our downtown people to make it look better, enhance it in some way. And along with that, the Riverwalk will be, the presentation will be at the September 24th council meeting. And I'd like to know if we could somehow get the word out to the businesses that would be affected by that. We had a really bad turnout the first time we tried this, but I thought maybe it was because it was summer. I think the economic picture for downtown would be much improved if they could buy into the fact that we have a plan and we've invested in a study which was first proposed 12 years ago to try and put something together to help not only our businesses but our downtown. And I'd just like to know if we can somehow, I don't know what the best way or an easy way to notify these people of the meeting on the 24th. I know Paul Demofowski will be here and Ed Snekis from Burgess, who did the focus study. We had a final meeting, we had a draft document, we gave input, and I believe, you know, the final document will be ready for Ed to go over that night and to answer any questions. And since a lot of it concerns people with properties along the river eventually, they should be invited to know that this will be happening.
What would be happening?
That there is a plan. That there is a
Burgess is going
plan.
to do just presenting the concept of
Yeah,
it.
the last meeting I asked you, what's the total cost of this project? You threw out a $60,000 or $70,000 number.
I
Is this the
think that
$60,000 or
question-
$70,000 for all these businesses?
I think that question would be best asked when Ed is here. But there are grants available. I know Sunny Brennan wants to focus on the area that they've been working on. She's told me that there are prisoners who can come in and work. I know that even though it's a different plan, I know that years ago when you started with the way our fields looked and the improvement, there can be open space money through the county available to do these things, maybe some work by our own DPW. We now have a staff that we've hired to clean the buildings, which has freed up some people. I know they've cleaned the back area of the parking lot somewhat, but I think that this would be done in stages. I don't think you're going to say, you know, this is what the total would cost, but just like your other sports and field projects, it's an ongoing picture. It's been going on. It was proposed twice. It was proposed once by the First Advisory Committee. It was proposed in 2006 by the meeting of all of us in town who met at the senior center with the county, and that's how they came up with their vision plan. And I think this is just another step in the process. Do I think we're going to take $1 million and boom, it's going to happen? No, I think it's a beginning. And if we begin back here we have this beautiful resource.
I guess the reason why I'm asking is back here, there's no businesses, right? You're talking about spending more money, inviting businesses, and I'm kind of lost, right? Because we're not going to sit here and decide to go bond $1 million to go build a riverwalk. Why invite these people to come in if we're never going to do that?
Because it's a total,
Right?
it's
If you
a
want to do
total
it here for $60,000 or
concept.
$70,000, that's a different story.
It's a total concept
But it
that's
doesn't
going to be
impact.
presented in pieces, like a first part should be here. And I think a lot of people along there might be surprised at what they can do with their properties. It's not going to happen next year.
Is this similar presentation to what we saw already?
I think it might be, but it's more finalized, but it might be similar to that. I know that through discussion, they've made several different changes. But anyway, it's, you know, our properties and our land is what it is. It is what it is here, it is what it is by Bowman Fence, for instance. I mean, we all know what that property looks like. It's a sheer drop at the end of the property to the river. But there are sections of the river that are absolutely, conducive to an area of development for leisurely walking.
So I guess my concern is how many businesses and what's the cost for this implementation? Government is setting that.
Well, I don't know what the cost is.
I don't want to vote on something that we don't have the cost for.
I'm not
Well,
voting
we
on anything.
did send,
Council was asking, how do we get the word out to businesses? I asked Jane at Rotary Chamber, put an email to the group, Bloomingdale. And if you really want to hear, Councilwoman, I'd say go door to door, write it yourself, because they're not going to come and get all that.
would the office be willing to generate a flyer? And I would take it around,
Sure,
with
it's
the
better.
information on it?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. Possibly you can get, put it on the back, put on the trends, get advertised that way. But, being that you sort of had the lead on this, I would take the lead and get the marketing done with social network, go to the borough Facebook page, and so on. But for businesses specifically, I would knock on their door, send them a letter, just sad to say, I don't think they.
The problem is so many of the businesses, they are just a manager or a broker who
Very
really
true.
aren't the owners and may not, have.
I don't know, I disagree with that. Most of our downtown businesses, are owners.
Some I visited
Most of our downtown? Most of them.
working there.
7-Eleven is, Fastenal is, pizza places are, Nina's, the owner's always there. I'm saying, the owners are always there, yeah. Blue Oil, the owner's always there. Laura's always there.
But you're
Deb's
talking-
always there.
But the owners might not, of the business doesn't own the building.
Well, that is true.
You want the owners of the building are the ones who are going to play the big part, but not the owners of the businesses.
Okay, anything else? Councilman, anything else?
No, I have nothing else.
Anyone else?
Is the river cleanup this weekend?
River cleanup is 10 a.m. Saturday. Pride Day begins in Market on September 28th. 9/11 Memorial will be hosting, we'll be going from Butler to Stone Park. Our DPW is going to be building a 9/11 Memorial using the piece of the Trade Center that we did receive. And that'll be done in time for this memorial event. Again, just a couple things I have is we authorized previous meeting to finally put a generator on DPW building. That should be done in the next few weeks. It's very important. In the past, we had no power, DPW had no power, and that's just unacceptable. So that is being repaired. Regarding equipment, the small Kubota has come in to our utility department, so they have actually begun already on curb box installations, saving us outsource money on that. But our larger equipment, our Kubota, as well as the trucks and police cars, we're probably looking at December before these things come in through state contract. All right. Item 9, approval of consent agenda. You can all see various minutes, approval of block party. I want to highlight the 5K run, a fundraiser for pancreatic cancer research in honor of our fireman, Bob Kochka. And Councilman Amato is quite involved in that event, so I'd like to spread the word on that as well. A resolution from the Freehold was declaring August 24th the Senior Citizen Week. And again, approval of the candlelight walk requesting to close the road from the county. So those are all on the consent agenda. Yes?
Mr. Mayor, if we're going to do the same senior citizen resolution, I ask that you give it a resolution 2013 8.1.
8.1 will be in the consent agenda, moving that resolution for senior citizen. Who makes that motion?
So moved. Second.
Discussion?
Yes, I have a question on the executive session minutes, June 11th. It says we are close to finalizing the Volpe property, probably the second week in June.
Yeah, well, that's,
Where does that?
sorry. No, that's fine, that may have been stated, but we're waiting on the DEP, we're waiting on Green Acres to revise our ROSI, our Register of Open Space Inventory, before we can now proceed on that. Fred's working.
Nothing's really happening on that.
No, well, it is, we're proceeding, it's just, time frame of June, and then we hit that roadblock.
Whose court is this in now?
Excuse me?
Where does it
It's
stand?
not in court.
Well, no,
This is-
it's not vague, I'm talking philosophically tennis.
This was
I
rejected.
think these are just approved in the executive session, they're really not released.
Here, we're talking.
So,
Oh, you can't discuss what's on
Right,
it?
but that's not
because
it.
you're just,
That item,
I don't know, I'm just what I'm cautious.
I had no problem speaking to that, because that really hasn't,
Tracy,
that
can we
wasn't
talk
public.
about these minutes, executive minutes that
Well,
we
they're-
are approved, we're talking about approving them.
They're approving them, right, am I correct? They're not, they were to be asked, someone asked for them, training them, and we didn't see certain items for the finish. Yeah, right, so I don't know about that.
So if we vote to approve them, later on you can talk about them? Only in executive, is there
That's
executive?
my
Okay,
understanding.
fine,
I would agree with that.
okay.
But the issue you're speaking about is not a matter of negotiation. That issue was done a few years ago. This has been on the table for a while, where the borough wanted to sell a piece of borough-owned property, and that's public knowledge. And then we ran into a roadblock because it ended up being on our open space Rossi in our industrial zone, and Green Acres agrees with us that it really shouldn't be, but we have to amend our Rossi. Once we get that okay, we'll have to do an ordinance amending our Rossi to then remove it, to then consider trying to sell.
Who are we waiting for this information on, the Green Acres or?
Combination of Green Acres, and Fred is preparing an ordinance updating our open space.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it's still there. I mean, it's just, another frustrating process. And we knew that such a piece of land in the industrial zone would be on our open space roster. Common, to say the least. I also want to point out, we're in the discussion on the motion, we all received a copy of the abstract for Rate of Passaic County Board of Taxation.
Yep.
Right? And, you see, based on our reval, our tax rate, and it's just nice to see. I always remember, everyone, people saying we're the highest in Passaic County, we're the highest in Passaic County. Well, we're no longer the highest in Passaic County. I can't get it at my fingertips, Jane. You have it under,
So these are four ways.
yeah, John? Yeah. I mean, you guys, you can see the reval has brought us to, based on the county equalization of 91%. But the tax rate, out of 60 municipalities, we are right in the middle, about 8. I just point that out because you've heard numerous times over the past many years, from all walks of life, that we are the highest in the county. Guys report. That's not my Richard. I like to look at it as we're 8th lowest. Is there any further discussion? And I need all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the adoption resolution 2013-8.2, approving right-of-way use for Crossroads River Fiber. Again, this is a company installing telecommunication fiber, and they're doing this throughout the state. The attorney reviewed, and we need to give these permission to access right-of-ways. At the advice of Councilman D'Amato, if there is a borough right-of-way, and the borough utilizes this fiber someday, we will benefit both in the cost savings and potential revenue as we do from licensing into similar permits from cable bidding. This is not a telecommunications company. We're assuming this is a fiber company that is putting in fiber for them, for example, Verizon to come in and put fibers in town.
Sounds like they're gonna rent space.
Right. So anyway, this is, they're doing this in every town throughout the state. This is what we have to authorize. So who makes that motion?
So, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
I'll make the motion just to discuss.
Do I have a second on the motion?
Second.
All right?
So my question is, I guess we don't have a choice in this,
We do not.
so we have to do it.
Correct.
So why isn't this just
And
a step off? Every municipality has to.
Well, because I'll let Tracy speak to it if you'd like to, but we, with our attorney's input, were able to protect the borough a little more than what they came in with. They came in with a sample resolution of what they wanted. Can you speak to that? Are you familiar with this Crossroads at all?
That's not through the negotiation, I can tell you that it's a federal statute that are mandated to allow this company to come in and fund.
So they wanted exclusive rights, like for example, one thing is we're giving them non-exclusive rights, so we're not the only one that can utilize those right away. So we have to provide, but Fred, dealing with their attorneys, negotiated in our favor best we can. And mainly it was the exclusive rights.
And then one day, we're allowed to charge for this.
Correct.
The ability to go collect some money.
Or utilize a service like we do with Cablevision, is very generous to us in both service and the fees, franchise. That's the agreement. But that would be from a Verizon person if they came in utilizing the product. Okay, any further discussion? Roll.
Councilmembers D'Amato,
I'm going to accuse this since I work for a communications company.
Della Ripa,
They're in the same house.
Sure.
yes. Sondemire,
Yes.
Yazdi.
Yes.
Okay. Discussion regards to July 23rd bills list, bond council payment for Walter T. Bergen school lights. I'll defer.
That was an item I put on the agenda. We paid our bond counsel Kraft $2,000 for the bondo for the Walter T. Bergen school lights. And as previously, when we had the interest payment, I think that this expense should be paid out of the Rose Fund and not any general funds, since it is directly related to the lights. And I'll make that motion to, if this was charged to a capital account, it should be charged to the Rose Fund, $2,000, and I'll make that a motion.
Well, again, you're talking about what's the dollar amount?
2,000.
And you need certification funds to use that money to someone. I mean, it's up to you. What it came out of, where was it paid out of?
Capital Fund?
The bond ordinance for the light project,
Bond note, yeah.
which is funding soft costs in exactly this purpose. Pleasure of the governing body. I think it was paid properly. Because as part of the capital, as part of the bond, when you start repaying the bond, permanent note, you're going to be paying that technically out of the Rose Fund. So if your something is paid out of the bond,
But eventually it's going to come to the Rose Fund.
correct. So you're spending out, it's like paying the engineer on a project out of the capital, out of the bond. When that bond is to be repaid by the Rose Fund, you are doing exactly what you want to do.
Okay, which was different than the interest payment?
We took out the interest.
Took good interest rate.
Yes, but we
This
went
is
back
the-
and we took that out of the Rose Fund.
We're paying a vendor bill
Okay,
on work related to the project out of the ordinance put in place to
Okay.
pay. It's like saying, let's pay, we paid the electrician, $400,000, pay it out of the Rose Fund. Why don't you pay it out of where it should have been
okay,
paid?
this expense will be transferred through the capital account when we
When
pay.
the bond is
the note.
repaid, correct.
So exactly what your motion is read. We'll have to-
Okay,
that's-
As long as it came out of capital, that's what you're, if it came out of, if it came out of the line item for bond council, which I don't think it did, then your statement more accurate that we should use
Well,
that.
I'll talk to Fred about it and I'll revisit it if,
We have to talk to Sherry, to confirm it came out of the bond.
well, I know the number.
Okay.
Call her and ask her what this was.
That's fine. But I think it came out of the bond will be retained by the Rose Fund, achieving exactly what you're looking for.
Okay.
If it came out of a legal line, for example, like we have a legal line for bond counsel attorney, and you feel that should have come out of there, then that's what you should present to the council.
Okay.
But before you do that, confirm that.
All right.
But I think
thank
you'll
you.
find it came out of the ordinance. Will you withdraw that motion for now?
I will.
Just update on Sloan, Rafkin, and Bergen. I pretty much gave you the update on Sloan. Rafkin, again, we were hoping to build out in summer, ran into some utility issues, ran into survey delays, and our engineer, when he visited, site visit with over 30 of the residents, found other drainage issues, et cetera, that just have delayed this. We should be, you were all my witness, we should be awarding this on 9/24, and hopefully we pray for a build out before. Okay. That's on Rafkin. Yes. Walter T. Bergen restrooms, Same thing, we should go out to bid in the next few days and award on 9/24 to build for the winter.
No, it just reminded me whether you've gotten any update from the county about Blue
Paving,
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously they're doing a tremendous amount of road work under the road.
Drainage.
Yeah.
well, they're doing drainage before they pave, and again, typical, to Jack's point, how frustrating processes are. It's one thing, it's one thing I've known prior to my new role, but I now appreciate more, and it frustrates me because the process is so slow. It's compared to the private sector, it just shouldn't be. I'm not caving into it, I'm fighting it because it's just not right. And here's a great example. Glenwile should have been paved in 2012. That's from 2012. So here we are, and believe me, county, they know who I am. I'm quite fine the ointment. Is now moving along, but they had to do drainage before they pave, and of course, we start 2 weeks before school opens. And it is what it is. I'm happy that the county's paying real close attention to what we're doing. They're doing good things for us. And again, I may not be pleased with the timing, but it is what it is, and we're moving forward.
Right, and I wasn't looking to clog it, I was wondering if they were keeping you in the loop in terms of.
Well, they are,
updates
yeah,
on
absolutely.
things.
And what,
I'm just, being.
here's what I know. We should, by the end of September, be done with Glenwile. By the end of October, be done with Mackapin and Union Ave, which is going all the way to Ringwood Ave, if you want to keep as well. What I wasn't happy with, and this is kind of off agenda, but you brought it up, and I talked to the county engineer, how it just doesn't make sense, and he said it's a funding issue. They're paving from, just listen closely, from Hamburg Turnpike to Crane. And then they're stopping. And then they're beginning again from Oakwood to Clubhouse Road. And then they're stopping. And then they're going from Anna Rosa Court to the border of Bloomingdale. So you're going to have a gap from Clubhouse Road to Walker T. Burton, and from Crane to Oakwood. Now, those sections aren't that bad, I'll give them that, but if you're doing it, it's another 100 linear feet. And then I call the engineer, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And he's like, that's budgetary, that's what they're doing. Whereas Mackapin isn't that bad, I don't think, where you can probably do half of it and do Glenwile once. This is what I'm doing. The good news is it's getting done. The 2 areas I mentioned, they'll have these voids, probably makes business sense, but they're not that bad. Actually, I drove it today, and you can see they were paid much more recent than the sections they're doing. They're not great, but it just doesn't make sense. But they're doing all of Union from Van Dam to Ringwood Ave, and all of that. So you already asked me, what do you want done next year? I said, well, everything else. Do Hamburg from the south corner to Walker's or to Mackapin, and fill in those 2 gaps. And then we'll be good 15 years. But that's your update. And they're finally fixing drainage. Poor Mrs. Delation was suffering for years with the lake and other house from rain. So we're addressing things that need to be done. Just the timing is frustrating. School starting. I did provide the school paving schedule so we can go through the rounds. They're very appreciative of that. But it's painful. Okay? All right, sorry. Okay, ordinances, second and final reading, public ordinance. This is ordinance 26, 2013. This is to establish fee charges for obtaining a livestock permit as a result of the chicken ordinance. Simply putting on the books a $30 fee. Public notice statement, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this ordinance was posted in the municipal building, published in the Herald News, copies available to the public. So the motion may be made that it be read by title.
And who makes that motion? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
An ordinance of the Borough of Bloomingdale, the County of Passaic, State of New Jersey, the Code of the Borough of Bloomingdale by amending Chapter 2 Administration, Articles 8, Policies and Procedures, Section 2-80, Fees, Charged for Municipal Services, to add fees charged by the borough to obtain livestock.
Thank you. And who may, I need a motion to open public comment.
Second.
All in favor? Anyone wishing to speak to ordinance 26, 2013, this is fees charged on obtaining a livestock permit.
Just for the record, this is $30.
$30 in. Yep. And no one's grandfathered. So anyone who had 3 acres will now have to pay the permit. We had no fee prior to that. Yes?
I just have a
Just
question.
take your name and address for the record.
Linda Huntley, 86 Van Dam Avenue.
Yes.
If somebody has the livestock permit and then they decide to get rid of their chickens, does the animal shelter have to take them?
No,
Are
no,
they allowed to take them?
no. The ordinance calls for self-disposal.
And what if someone doesn't self-dispose and just let them go? I mean, these things happen, people.
They will have chickens running down Main Street.
That's what
What else would you like? There is enforcement here. We have the Board of Health and Animal Control monitoring the permit process, monitoring the clean coops, monitoring any neighborly complaints. So if someone did not renew their, or chicken soup, as Jack was alluding to. So I would hope that we don't have this problem. But to put things in perspective, we've had 2 permits pulled since it's enacted. So we're going to have chickens
Good, so
galore.
we're not going to have them running around the streets, okay?
If you see
We
chickens
should be able
galore.
to figure out whose chickens they were.
Yeah. All right. Anyone else? That's fine. Seeing no one, motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now you need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Roll call.
Councilmembers Della Ripa.
Yes.
Short.
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Yazdi.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Second and final reading and hearing on ordinance 27, 2013, suction points at Morse Lakes. All the private lake communities maintain their own fire safety through suction points. I had asked the fire department to inspect my Morse Lakes fire points, and we were able to, as a result of the water project a number of years ago, which resulted in the installation of fire hydrants, eliminate one of our suction points, which helps Morse Lakes in less maintenance because it's not cheap to maintain. And at the same time, they did a full inspection, and we maintained 2 others and made quite an investment on those. This ordinance is, because we have an ordinance defining all your fire points, is eliminating the fire point on Morse Lakes Road and Raft and Road, just so everyone knows. So, public notice statement, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this ordinance was posted in this building, published in the Herald News, copies available to the public, so that a motion may be made there to be read by title.
And who makes that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
An ordinance of the Borough of Bloomingdale, in the County of Passaic, State of New Jersey, and Code of the Borough of Bloomingdale by amending Chapter 14, Fire Prevention and Protection, Article 14-2, Fire Prevention Ponds and Suction Points, Section A, existing and recognized access roads, standpipes, and suction points, to reflect that the suction point at Morse Lake Road near Rathbun Road is to be decommissioned by removing reference to safety and closure.
Thank you. I need a motion to open to public comment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Anyone wishing to speak to ordinance 27, 2013, please come on up. Seeing no one, motion to close.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Any discussion? Roll.
Councilmember Short.
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Yazdi.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Della Ripa.
Yes. Thank you. New business. We're adopting resolution 2013 8.3, paying the bills. Who makes the motion?
Second.
D'Amato Yazdi on that, and any discussion?
Yes, I have discussion, just one observation. I think $8,600 is a big bill for the vehicle maintenance on trucks, basically. My other
Do you
comment...
know what that details?
No.
So that's a kind of a broad statement to make, we have no idea
Right.
what the
It's
$8,600.
a lot of money. It's a
Well,
lot
what-
of money.
If it was 2 transmissions, it's not a lot of money. If it, yeah, I'm just saying, you make that statement on the public record and have no substantiating
If
documentation.
there were 2 transmissions, I'd
You
still
don't
say
know
it's
what,
a
the
lot of
point
money.
is you don't know what it is.
Well, no matter what it is, it's a lot of money.
How it is
Maintain
expensive.
trucks.
I'm just saying, you don't know, you make that statement, the 8,600 is a lot of money.
CMI is a lot of money
Okay.
for repair trucks.
And I'm
That's
not-
the only thing I said.
Okay, no, I appreciate your comment, I just wish you would get supporting documentation, say, that's a lot of money for 4 tires, I agree with you. If
Okay.
it's a lot of money for a transmission and a rebuild engine, no, it's not. On a $100,000 car, it's not.
Okay.
And again, without the documentation, I can't speak to it.
And on page 15, we're paying, which I know approved at the last meeting, the Musco Lighting
Contract?
contract warranty. I don't understand how this can be charged to open space. It doesn't seem to be an open space item to me. That's my,
What's that? Well, it's maintenance of the light system, but this goes back to, we've
Something like we did that.
Groundhog Day, all over again. We've had this discussion. So you can,
Well, so what I know, I guess I'm going back to my statement of we have four distinct parts to our rose fund, and at least when you have a warranty on lights, it certainly is an open space, yes. Maybe I can understand the DPW maintenance of open space that I can buy, but not maintenance of lights. I don't understand where we're going with the money. I think maybe you should delve into the fact of just making it rose fund.
is that a motion?
No. I don't think it can be a motion. I think it was a referendum, but
No,
I think
it's
if you want
not.
to do
No,
that.
you're
It's
wrong.
not a part of it.
You're not. You can make a motion
Well, it
tonight.
says open space preservation.
Correct. You can make a motion tonight to put the money into a rose fund, period. For open space, follow the referendum. The split is done by committee and councils, not referendum.
Well, I think
We've had
maybe
this
it's
discussion.
because for the first time, and I'll say it again,
Okay.
we've had it since it was adopted in 2001, the money has not been gone out of the open space section for things that we are now doing a lighting warranty. It's my
Duly noted.
opinion
Duly
that
noted.
it doesn't belong there.
Duly
My
noted.
other question is, Al Gallagher refund for registration on a bus is $60. What my question is, why is it out of mayor and council expenses?
I have to check the finance on that.
Okay,
Probably because it was my idea.
I'll check too.
That's the senior bus that we received from the county,
Oh, okay. Okay.
which is at
It
DPW.
doesn't seem like mayor and council expenses though.
But great questions to answer, finance. Right. It's a great,
Okay,
simple question.
I don't have anything
Is
else.
there any further discussion? We have a motion, I need a roll call.
Councilmember Sondermeyer.
Yes.
Yasti.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Delariva.
Yes.
Shortman.
Yes.
Need resolution 213, 8.4, opposing general election on October 16, 2013. You're copied on the resolution. West Milford has recently adopted the same. Again, we are opposing the general election primarily due to the cost it's put the burden on the borough. We had a primary, now that's one thing you have to create a primary to get the ballot, but this easily could have been done on the general election in November. And we won't go into the reasons why not, other than it's a cost to the borough. That was unbudgeted. It's unmandated. Now, we say we're going to get reimbursed, which would be 2014 if we're lucky.
Right,
But
we did get a finance notice that we are supposed to get reimbursed a certain amount, so we have to keep tracking. Up to date, right now, we've spent well over $1,000.
Just on primary.
And we didn't budget for that. We're going to have to do it again. Next.
So again, we're opposing the general election, which many municipalities, leading municipalities, they all have as well. So what makes that motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second, please?
Second.
Any discussion?
Do we know how much it's going to cost?
No.
Because the resolution just has a blank
Well,
there.
because I don't know if it still goes forward in October. Right now, I had to do it on monthly mailing for the other places, postcards, postage. Not quite sure what they're going to reimburse us for.
Overtime.
But we are expected to get some reimbursement
We
for
are.
these.
They said.
But again, it'll be in 14.
But it'll be in
It
14.
wasn't budgeted this year, but
Do you remember what the budget for the elections is? Do you recall?
Sorry, I don't
What's
remember.
good chunk of change?
This will be,
The 1,000 you mentioned is,
but it'll be another 1,000 in October at least.
right. Cost us substantially.
We have board
The
members.
finance notice said that we already get
It
reimbursed.
said, there's a website you go to, just got it from today. You have to go on it and it gives you kind of a list. Oh, yeah, you have to be approved.
no guarantee.
Submitted, no guarantee, you have to submit.
It's okay, we're opposing it, because it makes no sense when you have an election 3 weeks later. It makes no sense at all. Anyone else? Roll call.
Councilmember Giusti.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Delariva.
Yes.
Sherman.
Abstain.
Sondermeyer.
Yes.
Okay, adoption resolution 213, 8.5, acknowledging receipt of the 2012 audit. And by making this motion, you will then sign off the affidavit certifying that you have reviewed
No, I'm just
Right.
having
the 2012 audit. We have received a corrective action plan on a few items. which again, will be reviewed with our CFO and finance, that we've just been copied on today, so. Again, that would be something, minimal stuff, it's similar to each year. For example, canceling old grants that are on the books, we need to do that. Doesn't affect us in any way, it's just we want to clean housekeeping. Efforts to restore foreclosed properties, as you know, we're on the worst. Fred said we'll be in full, we report on those. Clear small city trust fund grants, those old grant applications we utilize for home improvements. Anything, just if we're doing one. Is that anything to the agenda tonight? Did we have a mortgage release on the small cities trust? I know, Sherry was talking about that. But that could be, yeah, that's fine. But things like that, just minor stuff. Allocation study to support administrative salaries and benefits allocated to sewer and water on a monthly basis. So these are just action plans that our CFO has given responses to deal with each of these items. You just been copied on that, and I got that late this afternoon. But what we're doing here is motioning the acknowledgement that we received and reviewed the 2012 audit. So who makes that motion?
So moved. Second.
And any further discussion?
My discussion is reviewing the recommendations. Out of 17 recommendations, we still have 9 that were recommended a year before that we're still not in compliance with. That's correct. And things like, why can't we get 2 signatures on the checks from the municipal court? It doesn't seem like it's difficult to do.
I promise you, make you promise, that by the end of this year, when we're audited in 2014, you won't see these repetitive items. I wasn't in that capacity previously, administrative standpoint, I'll say, to have those controls in place, but I promise you, these repetitive occurrences, which are not violations, they're corrective actions, will no longer exist.
What about the one about, since you've been in this position?
But I haven't been in that position.
Within 48 hours, do you know if we're doing
Absolutely,
that?
put a policy in place for recreation, make sure that's done, documents, stamp, time, everything, since I've been.
That's what we're doing now?
Yes.
Okay.
Plus, we now have online bill pay, which is an automatic deposit, so 48 hours.
That's done for recreation also?
Yes.
Okay.
So what I can control, I have, and what's old will be revised. Okay, right. I think there is a mortgage release from an old grant. We'll take a break after late public comment, and then Dave might have an email on that. Excuse me. Okay. Any further discussion? Certifying receipt, acknowledgement of the audit. Roll call, please.
Councilmembers D'Amato.
Yes.
Delariva.
Yes.
Shorten.
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Yost.
Yes.
Okay, resolution 213-816, supporting the drive sober or get pulled over statewide crackdown, which, by the way, we just received additional grant funding for us to pay for our officers' time for increased DUI checkpoints. Who makes that motion?
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmembers Delariva.
Yes.
Shorten.
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Yost.
Yes.
D'Amato.
Yes.
Authorization for recreation grant application for the Walter T. Bergen track. In the past, we've applied for this track through Green Acres. Green Acres funding is pretty much dried up for this year. There is, though, a grant application through the DCA for handicap special needs type of funding. That's how we got into Leisure Field playground a number of years ago. And I'm asking the council to give me authorization to submit this application to see if we can get funding for the Walter T. Bergen walking track. And the deadline is September 20th, so I want to get working on that right now. So who makes that motion?
So moved. Second.
Any other discussion? Yes.
Mr. Chair, sometimes in these applications, they ask for a required resolution. Can you give us the number?
Resolution 8.7, please. And that motion, I'm sorry, was who? Yost, Delariva. Any further discussion?
And I just wanted to say, I know from past discussions that there are people at the schools who are very interested in having that track done.
Yeah.
So,
Matter of fact,
certainly very,
from a physical education standpoint, but they're also starting track and field.
well, they've certainly wanted to,
But they're starting this year. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
coached by teacher Mr. Fredericks, coaching track. So absolutely, there's great support.
Yeah, I know they had the running club
We'll try.
years ago, but it was painful doing it on a laptop, so.
Exactly. Well, that's not the carry. Any further discussion? I need a roll call.
Councilmember Sherman?
Yes.
Sandemeyer?
Yes.
Yasti?
Yes.
D'Amato?
Yes.
Delariva?
Yes. Okay, I would like authorization for the mayor to interview and hire DPW laborer. We had a laborer resign, and we will be, I'll be interviewing after Labor Day. We received in excess of 170 applications. I've now ran out about 40, reviewing with our DPW super and assistant super, and I will be advertising and interviewing after Labor Day. Well, what I'd like is the governing body to authorize me to proceed with that, because I don't want to review 170 applications if we're not replacing this resigned employee. So it actually will be a reduction in payroll because the person resigned was at a higher scale than the person who will be hiring, and it'll be a laborer. And then obviously, once that person is chosen, that person will come back in front of you with a resolution and a name to appoint that person. So I just want formal acknowledgement that I can proceed with that, and who makes that motion?
So moved.
Second. And any further discussion?
So there are no special skills or anything? It's just a general?
Well, we, required, not required, you have to get it within 6 months of CDL. I mean, I tell you, I have received some quite impressive applications with some real good experience. From CDLs to construction to utility expertise, all over the.
It's all possible trying to get a local,
Excuse me?
and it's all possible trying to get somebody local.
Again, I'll get the most qualified person, yeah. If they're local, it's just a bonus.
Did this body make that a requirement?
No, the actual blue collar contract states the governing body should try to do its best. I don't believe there isn't. Contract states doesn't make it a requirement. And I have them all over. There's as far away as Farley, Bergen County areas, Lower State County, many local. So we'll see. But there was quite a few. So I'm sorry, so we, so I'm discussion plan on that. There's a motion and a roll call. Give me a roll call on that, please.
Councilmember Sandemeyer?
Yes.
Yasti?
Yes.
D'Amato?
Yes.
Delariva?
Yeah.
Short? Yes.
Thank you. Next is Resolution 2013-8.8. No, this is 8.8 because 8.7 was our rec grant. Am I right on
We
that?
gave that a number.
Oh, we didn't give,
We gave them a number.
We didn't give
this
we didn't give that one a
No, no,
Just
no.
authorization.
On that 8.8, renewal of our membership in the Morris County Joint Insurance Fund. Who makes that motion?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? I need a roll call, please.
Councilmembers Yasti?
Yes.
D'Amato?
Yes.
Delariva?
Yes.
Short? Yes. Sandemeyer?
Yes.
I need a resolution, 2013-8.9, approving sick leave for a DPW employee. Who makes that motion?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
And any discussion?
This is someone who has sick time, and we're giving them the amount of sick time they have?
Correct, because they're exceeding, if you exceed a 5-day period, it requires, doctor knows what you have and whatnot, we don't know the circumstances, so
Okay, I was
we're
just
just approving
wondering.
the extended sick leave.
Another issue is on?
We'll talk about that. So that's all. And you're going to do
We're
it?
just not exceeding the amount of sick leave available, that's my...
No, because then you'd have to go on disability if you did.
Okay.
Roll call.
Councilmembers D'Amato?
Yes.
Delariva?
Yes.
Short?
Yes.
Sandemeyer?
Yes.
Yasti?
Yes.
Okay, resolution 2013-810, approving sick leave for tax office employee at the beginning of September. Who makes that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmembers Delariva?
Yes.
Short?
Yes.
Sandemeyer?
Yes.
Yasti? D'Amato?
Yes.
Next item, sorry, good.
Yes.
Resolution 2013-811, I'd like authorization for the application for Star Lake Road. We have DOT, 2014 Department of Transportation grant. The last 2 years, 13 and 12, obviously we got Rafkin Road money. And I'd ask that we seek for Star Lake Road reconstruction, drainage, sidewalks, and curbing. And the application deadline is early September, so I need to get rolling on that. So I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Do we have any grant money to finish Rafkin Road? Yeah.
Yeah, we got 350,000
Second.
for phase two.
Phase two, okay.
Which was our 2013.
Okay.
Is it under sidewalks on Starlight?
Excuse me?
Is there
Again, did I
sidewalks?
say whatever, there's no sidewalks. There's no sidewalks, no, I retract that. For road reconstruction, drainage, and curbing.
If the residents wanted sidewalks,
As an assessment project, we could put it out front. We're not going for funding.
yeah, no,
I mean, wait, I take that back, you could, but they're not going to. They have these, the only thing they fund sidewalks is these safe streets to school, which we really been successful on, and you can argue that goes to the school, right? Again, I'll talk to Paul, we can have the engineer include sidewalks in our grant application, and you know we're going to ask for $1 million to get 300.
Mr. Mayor, right now, he's doing utilities.
We could include the full rebuild, they're just going to give you an amount, you're going to fund the difference.
So can be included in the grant?
Yes, we can. But look at Rafkin, we applied for $1 million, that's $350. Yeah, well, it's based on population, we're kicking in all towns, we make the award list. It's sad to say, a bigger town, the more money they get.
Given our utilities are so old and so desperate, replacement in many cases, we should absolutely include it every time we do.
But it's Department of Transportation, so they're focusing on roads, not
Understood.
utilities. And that's why we went for the infrastructure loan, we're waiting to hear on.
Right.
There's other infrastructure money, not free money, but
But if you can include it as a, just once in a bigger
you can
application.
put it on your application and the costs involved, but they're going to focus on the awards are based on transportation. That's what it is, the Department of Transportation, roads, curbs, sidewalks.
how much money is available, they want to put into that specific area.
You look at the history, we've averaged 250 to 350 consistently. 3.5 was the 350. It was 250 in the first phase, after 350 in the second phase. But yes, it'll be in the application.
I'd just like to modify the motion to include.
Well, the motion was an application for Starling Road DOT grant. I just embellished by saying
I got you.
road reconstruction curbs,
Minutes, let the minutes reflect that.
that we want the application to reference utility, that's basically. That's fine. But either way, they're going to have to find a funding source through other funding. Okay, so there's a motion on the table. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Member Short.
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Yazdi.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Delariva.
Yes. And we have resolution 2013 8.12, authorizing the settlement of a tax appeal, block 5901, lot 16, 132, 142 Main Street. Who makes that motion?
So moved.
Second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Sondemire.
Yes.
Yazdi.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Delariva.
Yes.
Short.
Yes.
Acceptance of resignation of Judy Caputo as member of the Board of Health. Who makes that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Other than thanking Mrs. Caputo for her time served. A roll call, please. Actually, all in favor? All in favor?
Yes.
There's no appointment at this time for that replacement. Item M, acceptance of resignation of Faye Bueller as member of Environmental Commission. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Again, other than thanking Faye for her time.
We now have 2 openings.
Yes,
on
we do.
environmental.
So if you know of anyone, please let us know that there's no appointment at
We
this
have
time.
no appointment.
Not at this time. Okay. We're in. I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
I need to introduce ordinance number 28, 2013, amendment to the noise ordinance. This is introduction by title. Makes that motion.
So moved.
Second. discussion? Roll call?
Councilmember Yasti,
Yes.
Tomato,
Yes.
Delariva,
Yes.
Short. Yes. Sondemire.
Yes.
And Mr. Mayor, this, I assume this would be an ordinance amending Bloomingdale Code Police Regulations, Section 3-5.1, titled Noise Level Control.
Correct.
Second, final,
September 10th.
second.
And there'll be a public hearing. What we're doing is our current noise ordinance defines it by decibels, which is kind of hard to define. This is defining by hours allowed to do work in neighborhoods, based on power equipment and all of that, so. There's a request from resident Michael Mahoney in regards to a fence. By code, he's allowed to go 12 feet from the curb, but he wants to extend 4 feet into the right-of-way. We have seen numerous, approved numerous times, exceptions with walls and things in the borough right-of-way. They assume more responsibility. There's no, Dan Hagberg came to me with this, as well as the resident. There's no site view issues, sight line issues. There's no problem with this at all, just that it is exceeding into our right-of-way. And the construction office is the only one that can do it under the government body. So, I need a motion to make that approval. To allow 4-foot encroachment into the borough right-of-way. A second?
Second.
And any discussion? Any roll call?
Just so I understand.
Yeah.
So, what is it? They're allowed to go into?
They're allowed, Dan can only authorize 2 his property line.
Okay.
And no, actually, property line exceeds that, but he can't go into the right of way. He's going 4 feet into the right of way. He's still 8 foot from the curb.
It's from the curb back, not side to side. Because I went up to look at this piece of property. I went up there and looked at it. There's actually a fence there now.
Right. He's still going to be 8
Extend
foot.
that fence into the right of way of the borough coming towards, the way I look at it, towards the road.
He's still going to be 8 foot off
He's
the
still
side.
be 8 foot off the curbing back, so there's no visibility issues.
That's what's good.
What kind of fence? How tall?
Right now, there's a 4
Is this
foot,
going to be a barricade in the middle of the, residential?
it's not across the front, it's between the two properties. There's a fence there now that goes from the back of the property, side of the property towards the street. He wants, the way I look at it, he wants to extend that fence a few more feet down his property line.
Why is it coming to us right at that point?
Because I guess it goes to the rules 12 feet, he wants to go beyond that.
I know, but usually when you want to do something that's not in your borough code, you go to the planning board, right? That's the process.
According to Dan, that's the company. I kind of question it myself. Dan says gotta go before the mayor and council.
We've done it before.
We've done this before. This is not.
We've done this before?
Yeah, this
Yes.
is not.
What is it, 4-foot fence?
Right now, there's a 4 foot vinyl picket fence there now, vinyl fence there now. So he wants to extend that.
He'll have to meet the code as far as the height of the
Yes,
fence.
yeah, that's still Dan's department. Dan just can't allow him, it's still his property,
Right.
but it's in the right of way, which is still his property.
Well, listen, Mayor, if one day we needed to,
That's why it's a right of way.
right, then he
You
understands.
have to
that
move,
it's gotta go.
that's what comes with it.
And then he has to move it back 8 feet and all that.
Correct. That's what a right of way is all about, so we have to
4
right.
foot, right, side.
That's all Dan, yes. It's a 4 foot, he can't violate that code, so I think 4 foot's max in front of the home. You only go 6 foot behind the house.
Yeah, try to have that.
Try to have that. So, yeah, and we've done it. I mean, this governing body's probably done it once or twice last year. We allowed someone on Reed to put a wall, on the easement. That was for flooding,
That
sort of
was
stuff.
water, right?
No. We've done it for just cosmetic reasons. It's not affecting him. He's still 8 foot off the side.
No, I just had a curiosity, I was asking why it's coming to us like that.
Because the only one who can seek relief to utilize it right away is us. It's not a use variance. And it doesn't change the right of way rules and laws. It's just we need that access because we're going to
Take it
put a
back.
fire hydrant in or extend the sidewalk. So it's not, we just have to get a formal on the record to advise it needing to extend. Is there any further discussion? Roll.
Councilmember Tomato,
Yes.
Delariva.
Yes.
Short.
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Yasti.
Yes.
Item P, discussion of property maintenance issues.
My
Always
issue.
an ongoing subject, but yes, Councilwoman, will you put this on the
I
agenda?
think that the reason I asked to put this on the agenda was I would like to explore, maybe with Fred or Tracy's opinion on, I know we're not alone in this problem. In this economy, I'm sure many towns have property maintenance issues. And I've gotten calls from people who, and we have a situation where I live where people are not maintaining their property, but some of them have gotten to the point, and I guess that the scenario is when we get a complaint, the DPW looks at it, the DPW cuts it. John gave
We
me a
get a
list.
complaint, that's not the person. We get a complaint, it goes to our property maintenance office.
Property maintenance, okay.
Who issues a warning notice for compliance in 10 days.
Okay.
And then if that's not complied with, he issues a summons to appear in court.
And if no one complains to us, the property maintenance officer, does he ever do this without a
He
complaint?
does. And I'm not kidding, I probably email him 10 times a week.
I know, we have quite a report, which I
So that's
really,
how, and then when it's a home that's vacated or foreclosure or those two instances, those are the ones you have trouble with, where no one comply, no one reply. So what we do, and I think we file,
yes, I'm following up.
for public health and safety and respect and the right thing to do for the neighbors,
Right.
DPW, and think cuts the grass. We don't
Yeah,
go
it's
edge
not-
and low and,
No.
we cut the main grass and then we get a bill for the labor and we leave the property. And I'm waiting till the end of the year so we have substantial amounts. I'm not gonna go, if you remember 2000, I'm sorry to interrupt you, in 2011, we had the same discussion. And the governing body at that time decided not to move forward with the lien process because at that time, that attorney would have charged, his time, it wasn't a cap kind of thing. So it didn't make sense to pay $250 to go for a $234 lien, is what the governing body said in 2010. So we wait till we get more substantial, return. Now, there's only about, I'd say, half a dozen of those repeat violators vacant foreclosure houses. Some banks in foreclosure retain. Some are cutting it, some are doing the right thing. Then there are those that do not.
But besides just the landscaping and cutting the grass,
We pump pools.
yeah, we do that kind of thing. But what about if the house is in such dilapidated, terrible condition? There's nothing you
No,
can do.
Dan can issue an unsafe structure notice, which he just did a couple weeks ago on town. And they have, 10 days to 30 days to repair it or knock it down.
And when they don't?
Well, I don't know of any other, but the one this was issued on, that is in that condition, where it's an unsafe structure, other than appearance.
Do we have one here in the gentleman fixed the things that we wanted in RV?
Right, that's our operating plan. Number two, demolish. Okay, so we're talking.
I just wanted to be sure from that aspect,
It did for a short time. It's another frustrating process. We get, on the ones who live there and just don't, it may be the pride that's not taken in some homes, but they comply. When Dan, when Bill summonses them, or sends them a warning, 99% of them comply. But then the repeat offenders 2 months later, the grass is tall. But they comply. And there's those who we chase and chase and chase.
well, on the other side of the coin, I have it this spring, I think it's across from, I don't know the name of the store, is it the Quick Check on Main Street? Is that the name of it, Quick Shop?
Quick shot.
I had emailed pictures of that home on Main
On the
Street.
corner.
It's not on the corner. It is an absolute, you can see it today. It's, in the spring, it had fabulous landscaping and blooms, and I passed there today and I thought, we should really recognize people who do such a fabulous job. And it's Main Street in our town that you ride by. Maybe it would encourage other people to do the same. So I encourage you to look at this particular older home behind a wall on the hill. And it's really exceptionally lovely, spring and summer. And you're right, it's how do you instill pride. Maybe you can do that with, it might just be a nice thing to recognize these people with a certificate from the borough that it's been noticed.
I think it's a great idea. And again, I'm going to pass the buck back to you. Tonight you came with two great ideas.
Yes.
know, with these Golden Room Award like Mountain Lakes does, we came up with this, recognize,
Same kind of thing.
take it, run with it, the governing body's not gonna stop.
Okay.
I'll ask you to run it, form a committee,
Well, I
find
know-
the people, get it going.
Well, I know that we have committees, and I'm proposing it tonight as a member of the council. I don't want to go do something without you knowing about it ahead of
I don't
time.
think anyone's gonna stop that kind of effort, and I think you should, rally the troops, and I support it,
Okay.
wholeheartedly. I think everyone
Anybody
agrees, right?
interested in
Those kind of,
committee with me to just find places in town, particularly, that are visible to the public, our Main Street businesses that do a great job and always, look nice with their keeping it clean and landscaping. I think that's a way that would encourage the other businesses to take notice and to do it.
Street
Towns that do like a garden, things about the town, they submit their gardens and they
their private homes.
That's usually residential.
Rented, Halloween decorations, Christmas lights, gardens. And in the first year, you get 30 applicants, next year, you get 4.
I'm thinking more of something, like with our Main Street corridor, with making that look better than it does. I know that that's the issue that the Environmental Commission has been trying to work through, what to do, on Main Street particularly. I know we planted, and I think, but there are still other businesses that really could do a little more. They need to have a little pride.
They're not violating, this is the question you're they're not violating anything.
No.
Just about, you don't like the color of it, you like the appearance of it, and I agree with you, 100%. But they're not violating. It's not,
Well,
you could,
yes, legally, you can't go after them to plant the kind of flowers you want. But I just think if we started something and just recognized someone, it might make them feel better about living in Bloomingdale or having a
You
business.
mentioned Mountain Lakes, which I refer to all the time. It's not just their Chamber of Commerce, it's how they achieve what they have there. It is they have a big business improvement district where the commercial owners, not just on Main Street, but out in town, pay a tax, separate tax, that goes into a fund called the Business Improvement District that allows them to parlay that money into grants and funding for all that facade work, all those pretty flower barrels, and new pavers and so on. That's how they do it.
Yeah, they give back a little bit if you were to, they don't give back all the,
No.
but it's
There's
a
ways
great
you can
idea.
do tax incentives,
We
you
need
can
to
do.
get an acronym for something for our town to encourage that, and I will work on that.
Agree. I mean, a lot of it, the borough making the effort, I think it's a little cleaner, just painting curves, painting lines, flower barrels, and you've done it, it's a little better, also have the funding as well. Next year I'd like to find funding for simpler flower barrels, and taking also lanterns. That would be nice. This is a flower that we best they have, we invested in a tank and actually waters. So it's like something else that they do down the shore, and that's how everybody so pretty. There's so many things you can do about it. But it has to be tried first. And I'm hoping if the borough makes that effort, we can see it too.
While we're on that topic, can we issue a fund for, for a house that never finished their siding? Right on our Main Street.
Well, no, here's what, all right, let's go back to that.
Right, and you issue
When
a
the economy went downward spiral, Governor Christie extended the Open Permits Act, which allows permits to remain open through 2014. Rumor has it, he's going to extend it for another 3 years. So if someone has an open permit and didn't finish building their addition or siding to the house, there's nothing you can do. Been there, fought that. And that was part of the problem with the one you referenced, is someone pulled a permit and never did work. It's an open permit. That's what the state did. Again, has no control. We don't have a lot of them, but yeah. But you'd be surprised. I asked,
But you also have to see what the permit is for.
there was one, well, right, yeah. There was one on Main Street, which still needs help, but, our part of maintenance sent them, I pretty much have the code, the memory. Just not a pleasant painted appearance, peeling, chipping is something we can enforce. So on Main Street, again, still needs assistance, a couple of different houses. Garage, it was recently painted. It was be a nasty peeling green, and now it's less of a nasty white. But it was done, it was an enforcement, it's just, a lot of those are just not owner occupied, so, there's hope, but, and we talked about this, a lot of it goes to the time the town can invest. We have a part-time person making less than 10 grand a year, working less than 8 hours a week, doing all the things we're talking about. Which, he gets done a lot, but it works more than Saturday. Yeah, so that's an investment. You know, if you had someone more hours, more on it, maybe you'd see a different response too, which is something we need to look at. There's always the money there. So. But I promise you, that's one of my biggest pet peeves, and I think we'll be more diligent on property maintenance in the last 6 months than in the last many years. And for the record, what drives me nuts is nobody weed whacks their curb line where the curb meets the street. It drives me crazy. I hate that. Why does nobody do that? Put that in paper. What's that? You do. Your house looks beautiful. There's so many curb lines. It's like butcher. Weed whack. I'm going to drive the dark at night and spray it. Put that on the rest of this. Drives me crazy. Anything else on property maintenance? I got papers like that too. Okay. Thank you. Next item, adoption resolution 2013 8.13 through 8.16. These are simple tax title lien certificates. Who makes that motion?
Second.
And any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Delver.
Yes.
Short. Yes. Sondemire.
Yes.
Yazdi.
Yes.
Tomato.
Okay, thank you. Need a motion to open for public comment?
Second.
All in favor? Sure. Any motion to speak to borough business, please come on up, take your name and address for the record. Seeing no one, motion closed. So moved. And we're going to take a 5-minute recess while Jane looks at that, we're going to have to do a release on the mortgage, which was from a small Seams grant, that's from 2010. A lot of times people finish their work and they never tell us and we don't release the mortgage, so you're going to look at that? All right, so we'll take a 5-minute recess.
Yeah.
I'm recording it.
It is fun.
Back in session at 9:10. Jay, do you want me to defer this to you? Because you have the
Yes,
paperwork
we
in
have
place.
a resolution in 2013 8.17, and it's acknowledging the satisfaction by Keith and Patricia Damiano of a mortgage and mortgage note issued by the Borough of Bloomingdale. So we just need a motion to approve this resolution.
So moved.
Seconded?
Roll call.
Councilmember Short.
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Yazdi.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yes.
Delariva.
Yes.
Motion to close, to adjourn.
No, to go into executive session.
I move to go to executive
Move to go
session.
to executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.